Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and coffee link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil and Refracted Curvature, together with a few people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good morning,
I'm
good
better.
afternoon, wherever you may be. Good to have you. We're starting half an hour early. I wouldn't normally mention the time or scheduling or day or anything, but there's a new computer on the horizon today, so I've started the show half an hour early so I can get the uncut and live show uploaded for the members. And then I'll be toddling my way down to my tech guy to hopefully resolve 16, maybe 17 months of troublesome computer issues with a new computer. So I'm getting a new motherboard and new RAM and a new CPU, and that's all going in today, hopefully, or over the weekend. But I wanted, as the computer is still cobbling along, just barely, to do one last show with it. Bid farewell, have the weekend to get it sorted, and hopefully come back on Monday with a freshly overhauled computer. So there we go. That's why we're starting early, in case you're wondering. If you are watching live, which will probably be a more limited audience, as we're starting at a random earlier time. Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was going to say, so you have a computer on the physical geometric circumference of Earth? Is that what you were saying?
On the horizon, meaning in my midst. It's going to be here soon, in the close future. That sort of horizon. I'm sure it's a nautical reference.
So it's not below sea level?
Not below sea level. Not marked with an X labelled horizon. Point below surface level. Claimed to be Earth curve. No, not that horizon. That doesn't exist beyond the maths. Any evidence that does exist in physical reality of Earth curve? In all
Well, if
seriousness.
Earth curve existed, the maths wouldn't work.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It simultaneously is you'll need a flat Earth for that moment when it comes to Earth curve maths. It's right there in their maths surface level. And it as a point in the mathematics below the surface level, they're claiming is the point in the horizon. It's a bait and switch. But the bait and switch still requires that you observe a physical surface level. That's part of the maths. They need Earth to be flat as much as, I don't want to say we do, but that's how you originally phrased it. So to quote John, who's on the panel now, Refracted Curvature, you guys need a flat plane more than we do, end quote. And they do. In this case, surface level for Earth curve geometry. I've also put out a few videos to members. So with a view that I might run into some difficulties, you never know, whilst overhauling this computer. There may be an instance where it doesn't get fixed on Monday and there's still faff. You never know. If that is the case, I've released a few members-only videos that will be released in place of live streams, should that be the necessity. I hope not. I really, really do hope not. But just in case, I've edited out a few videos. So they're available to members. I uploaded them and put them as members-only videos this morning. So if you want to check them out. One is called Lights in the Sky, ? In reference to the stars, where someone came onto the Flat Earth AMA that I did a couple of weeks ago, and basically were willing to challenge that what we call stars were in fact lights in the sky. He said no. Now that lasted about 2 or 3 minutes before the moderator just got sick of him repeating the same thing over and over again, which is, I will not accept them being described as lights in the sky. So that was one of them. There was another one which was about Coriolis effect, which I completely forgot I'd even got in that AMA. So there's a Coriolis dissection with an exceptionally good summary by Brian at the end. So that's come out for members only. And there was another one which I can't remember, but there's been 3. So check those out. And there's still remnants of the last computer failure, the one that's currently cobbling along now, in terms of videos that I can still put out that are members only anyway, or had been up until, and still are, that will maybe go out to the public over the weekend. So there's still a few of those left as well. And there's even a bit more meat left on that particular video. So the AMA itself's still got, although it did go downhill a little bit after the moderation changed. There was the guy I Am changed to a different guy. And he's not quite as slick. So from vague memory, the meat is now getting close to the bone in terms of what I'm stripping off that AMA in little tiny videos. So that's it. Check those out if you're a member. We've also got a video to cover today. I did overhear your conversation from the kitchen earlier, you guys, in terms of the purpose of the video that we may cover, if John's willing. I don't know if you just wanted it for our attention, or did you want to actually cover it on the show now? If in which case I'll share the link. John.
What's that? The Einstein's idiots?
Einstein's idiots, but it's got what's the point as the first one. Is that was there a particular video that you wanted to discover, or was that one as good as any, or was it just something you were hoping we would look at and then not necessarily cover on the show?
I don't think it would be a great one to cover because he's not really until the later videos, he's not asserting anything that we don't already know or understand.
Yeah, that's kind of what my reaction in the pre-show was to Neil. I was like, okay, what have I got to react to about this though? And he was like, well, maybe it's about Bev. And I'm like, okay, but this, I don't know if I want to cover this. So I'm glad you've said no. It isn't necessarily for. That means we don't actually have a video to cover though. So I hope this conversation picks up because we haven't got anything to cover.
Yeah, John explained it to me when you went to get coffee. So
let's hear it broken down by you then, Neil.
You have to cover that.
Go on, you break it down. I will, as we've now talked about it, share the link to this particular video because I did actually discuss it in the pre-show. So if somebody, oops, I don't want to add it to a playlist. What am I doing? Where's the share button? There we go. I'll stick it in the live stream chat. So if you did want to go and check out the video, you can. I wouldn't necessarily encourage at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me or anything, although I did. So why not? Yeah, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We covered it for about 3 minutes. Probably less than that. No, 1 minute 17. Anyway, okie doke. Yeah, so we won't be covering that today, but what we might cover is a little bit of this. So I'll play it now.
If you don't have people consistently criticizing you, if you don't have haters, you ain't popping. That's all you're gonna know.
That's right.
So I remember once I was at a Laker game, Kim Kardashian and Justin.
You'll get the point of this in a few moments. You've already heard the preamble, which is to say, if you haven't got any haters, you ain't popping. That's his first sentiment.
Justin Bieber, the camera turned to them. This is in like 2013. 18,000 people booed him. But now, they clap because what happened, there's a cycle. And Gandhi said this years ago. He said,
this is the bit I really want to focus on. Not necessarily his preamble, but it was reasonable.
First, they ignore you because they don't know who you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Then they laugh at you.
Sound familiar so far? First, they ignore you because they don't know who you are. Then they laugh at you. Sound familiar? Anybody who's been here for 10 years, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Because you're new on the scene.
Yeah.
Then they hate you is the third step
because we're flat earthers and we are outrageous and our kids should be cold at birth, according to our detractors.
You're a threat. And finally,
what was that? We're a threat. Yeah, that's the bit that I really want to focus on. Now, sentiment after that in terms of Gandhi, you might feel ostentatious if I were to focus on that too much, so you'll know what I mean in a minute. But in that regard, that's it. It's the fear. We are a threat. Yeah? There's a reason there's distance put between us and the higher establishment like Neil deGrasse Tyson, because we absolutely are a threat to them. And the people who defend the rhetoric, anti-flat earthers, are just pond scum by comparison. But they're the ones we are kept busy with and kept detached from, the people who we are a genuine threat to. And that is the established, quote, science. That's who we threaten.
they love you. And I added.
Now, at the moment, that's what everybody's got in the back of their mind. One day I'll be loved for telling people Earth's flat. Get this, listen to this next bit.
One thing, and fifth, you become a legend. Listen.
Yeah, according to you. Anyway, I thought that was quite interesting. It's more the Gandhi quote that I wanted, which is, yeah. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they violently oppose you, I think is the actual Gandhi quote. I'll have to double check.
And then you win.
And then you win, yes.
Which we won.
Exactly.
We won.
Wait a second. Why are you writing off the last two? I don't like that. We are going to be loved, and we are going to be legendary.
That's not the quote. He's paraphrasing, and there's nothing wrong with his paraphrasing, actually, Neil. I'm just saying it's a bit more ostentatious, and even disclaims it. I'll add on at the end. Then you become a legend. No, then you win. Winning means that, yeah, there's a good chance that what I would also further caveat that with is accepted as normality. There will be a point where not necessarily we win or become victors or heroes or anything of that like, but the people next to you will go, yeah, I always knew it was flat. Just accepted as normal. That's the point it'll come. Yeah, ignored. Yeah, laughed at. Yeah, ridiculed and mocked. Yeah, violently opposed. But then accepted as normal. Everyone around you will, like I say, suddenly be of the opinion that they always knew it was that way. Why? Well, because everyone else is saying it's that way now. Flat, that is.
But we already have one. That's why there's no ballers speaking up. That's why they don't come in here anymore. It's over.
Yeah. I had to explain that to John LeBon. He was like, why have you had 2,050 debates at the time he was interviewing me? I'm like, well, on the one hand, to agree with the sentiment of my commenters, there is no debate. It's measured flat, and that's how the world's been mapped, charted, built on. It's flat. It's conclusively provable. So there's no debate. But on the other hand, the majority, let's say the perception of 99% of the Western world, believe they're on a spinning water ball flying through a sky vacuum. So there's absolutely a debate. Until they change their mind, the perceived 99% of the Western world, that is. But in terms of the discussion, it's over. There's no debate. Earth is flat, demonstrably. Out to everyone in the chat. Nice that you could all be here. There's only 40-odd people watching because we've started half an hour early. But we'll talk a little bit to the chat. Say hello to you all. Hi, Richard G. P. Butler. Nice to have you. Ooch. Steamy Traveller was a glober the whole time. Poor wizard. Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was going to say, but if everybody doesn't know you won, does it matter that you won? In their minds.
Well, I try and make that introspective, otherwise you're going nuts. And I'm talking to you, Neil. If your concern is always the outward masses agreeing with you, so you reach that point of, quote, victory, quote, being a hero, whatever the other guy just said, in reality, it's just that you're accepted as normality. Well, if you can't get the masses to agree with you, why would you be trying? Then you have to accept it for yourself and nothing more. And draw the line there, because otherwise, as I say, you'll go nuts. Neil's of the ilk like Dave Weiss was back in the very early days of this subject. You know, we're going to go from 0 to 100 overnight. Well, that hasn't happened. There's been plenty of overnights. We haven't gone from 0 to 100.
Oh, that's a misrepresentation of me.
I was talking about Dave.
Not.
Dave. You were always asking, when is everyone going to find out, in so many words.
Oh, yeah, correct. I'm sorry. I was, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's just juxtaposed with Dave saying we're going to go from 0 to 100 overnight. You know, that's obviously a lot more optimistic. Yours is a lot more pessimistic. But the same principle applies, which is to say, if you're introspective about it, which is, how do I feel about this? Then you won't concern yourself with it until it's required of you to do so. Now, in that instance, if you are at peace with that fact that Earth is flat, you'll do a lot better anyway. If you're concerned about the masses and how you're going to best communicate it to them, there's a good chance that you are, first and foremost, not at one with it. Now, I know you don't like it when I put it that way, but I still see it that way, Neil, whether you like that or not.
Well, one of the biggest things that holds this subject back is the way it's introduced to people. If you control the information, it's been very well done. They have hit it amongst outrageous claims.
Yeah, and they filtered it into the algorithm of YouTube with conspiracy subjects, so that the people who found their way on that path were of an ilk. So yeah, it is incredibly carefully orchestrated. However, I don't think there's any amount of massive lie that can sustain itself indefinitely. Now, for me, I think this is pretty impressive so far. If you call it 200 or 300 years of successful heliocentrism, that's pretty impressive. But there's only so much that people will tolerate. The lie can only go so far. There will be a straw that breaks the camel's back. It is a deception as a subject matter, not as an individual representation from someone you could claim to be lying beyond astronauts. And the deception can't last forever. There's only so much heliocentric smear you can spread over the cracked pavement that is globe Earth. If you're one of its proponents, you can only fill in the cracks so much before the cracks become obvious or just aren't capable of being filled in anymore. And I think we're going through the rinse each time the subject, you said it was every 10 years. I don't know if that's the case, but every time the mill turns for flat Earth, the end powder that comes out at the end of the process is refined enough to keep the masses under the spell. Not everyone, but the masses. And that's enough. As long as you've dealt with any new issues that have been addressed by the people who know it isn't a globe, as long as you've smeared a layer of heliocentric nonsense over the top of that, then jobs are good. And it's worth releasing flat Earth to get that sort of cog turning in the process each 10 years, if it is speculative that amount of time that they surreptitiously release it into the public. For us, it's been YouTube. Next wave could be coming from TikTok for all we know. 10 years down the line as we are.
I heard you say that astronauts were liars, and I agree with that. But can I give some empathy towards them? Because to understand their situation, they don't know what the truth is. They don't know what Earth is. They're unknowing members of a religion where they have participated in something that is deceptive and knowingly acted in a way that they know is deceptive. And like Buzz Aldrin, how many years has this weighed upon him? People patting him on the back and telling him good job, and him knowing every time they do that. It has to be hard.
Hold on, John. Then what excuse does the guy have standing at the pulpit at Times Square Church spewing that nonsense? One of the last men to orbit the Earth came to Times Square Church and pushed that nonsense out there.
You'd have to ask him.
Yeah, and he's getting older. Yeah, he's getting older. And I bet you he doesn't sleep well because it's coming, and he knows it is. And there's a fear there that's building within him. It's got to be terrifying.
I have offered the same empathy and even offered them excuses and plausible deniability. So my version of that is to give you the example of the guy who stacked the lemon on top of the lem. Was it Gus something or other? And he ended up dying. The guy entered into a high oxygen-rich environment and it set on fire and killed him. Well, obviously the conspiracy theorists that are going to run with that particular mainstream narrative are going to blame NASA for their lax safety protocols when trying to get to space. But you can tell just between the lines that the guy was obviously passionate about a safety concern and obviously wanted that to be heard by the press. And no matter which way you dice it, from my perspective, just from the surface level, if I don't assume any deception in that particular narrative, I would say that that particular individual, now claimed not to be with us, was seen to be concerned about his safety when going to an area that was extremely dangerous, and he was very passionate about it. Now that tends to suggest that for that man, He wanted to go to the moon in the most safest possible way, and that was his drive and ambition, and he was going to make his concerns heard because they were worthy of concern. Now, that doesn't strike me as a person that knows he's got to put on a show and an act and pretend that it's of great concern with this wink, wink item going to the moon, wink, wink. I don't think that's what someone like that would do. It just doesn't seem reasonable to me. Therefore, I can only deduce that they have been deceived also, and then left in a position where they have had to maintain a lie that's very traumatic for them to do, as John is postulating, for a significant period of time, and it will take its toll. Now, we know it's a lie, and they know it's a lie, and that would be hard to deal with. But do I care? I don't even know Buzz Aldrin. I've never met him. The guy's a liar. He's never been to space, and he maintains that lie to this day. If he's got trauma over that, just come clean. The truth will set you free.
He has loyalties as well, though. He has loyalties to the friend that went with him that would weigh on him. He has loyalties to his country. He would feel like he was betraying. The stigma that would follow his family if he came forward. There are a lot of things that would hold you back.
Isn't this wonderful? Oh, fantastic. So I can now juxtapose that with what I don't know if we were live when I said this, but I would say that you need to find peace with the fact that Earth is flat. Not concern yourself with the outside masses and perception of your family, perhaps even, but you need to find internal peace with that. Now, what you are suggesting is Buzz can't find internal peace with this, correct?
Absolutely not. It's any way he goes, he's damned.
So, there is only one solution. I stated it already. The truth will set you free. There's no other option.
Destroy everyone around him.
Initially, let's speculate about this for a while. Why not? I'm in a good mood. What would be the short, medium, and long-term consequences of a character like Buzz Aldrin coming clean?
NASA would become under extreme scrutiny. He would be booed everywhere he went, possibly attacked. There'd be probably, I wouldn't say rioting in the streets, but people would be extremely upset by it.
Yep, that's definitely, I would agree with that 100%. Anybody disagree with that? Short term, people would be pissed. NASA would come into disrepute. Yeah, short term. What about medium term? Like after his funeral, 10 years from now, 12 years from now, 15 years from now, say. What do you reckon the mid-term ramifications for Buzz and his family and NASA and the government? Now we've expanded it out some. What do you reckon?
People would start looking for answers, and there would be a resurgence in flat Earth as a result of that, because people are trying to figure out why this happened. Why would he do this? Because he wouldn't be able to give them an answer. He's as lost as they are. He just, was part of the lie. So people would start looking for answers. There would be a huge resurgence in the Feast of Nonsense along with Flat Earth. And there'd probably be a large discussion at colleges about it.
Sounds like progress. The only problem with that progress is I can think of a group of individuals, we all know who they are, that basically control the way everything works in the world, for the Western world at the very least. And they wouldn't want that because it would mean they'd relinquish a certain aspect of control over people. If they're concerning themselves, the blue-collar or even white-collar individuals of this world are suddenly concerning themselves with exploration rather than getting their nose to the grindstone, that becomes a very big problem for the people who want to keep people under control. We're slowly getting to the point why this won't happen, aren't we? When we get to the long-term ramifications and everyone's running through fields, making sweet, sweet love.
That's not the biggest problem.
Mid-term, medium-term, or long-term, or short-term?
All terms. The biggest problem is that there'll be a resurgence in people's interest in the divine. That'll be the biggest problem. Yeah, because then they're not looking at the government, the banks, whoever, as being the boss of anything. They don't have faith in them. You know what I mean? If the earth is not a globe, then that means, what is it? What who are they going to turn to? They're going to turn to us. And regardless of what kind of flat earther you are, whatever you believe in ether or anything else, you're still a believer in us being created by a creator. You can put ether in between if they want, but it doesn't matter. We're still created. This is not an accident. That'd be the biggest problem. Because when people aren't nihilistic or whatever, I don't know if that's one of the words, but there's other terms for that type of behavior. When people aren't that way, that's a problem.
Well, you know, that I was going to go the other way with it, Brian. I was going to say that now these atheistic God haters would turn their aggression outwards instead of inwards. And they would want to fight against who they perceived as their captors. And I think possibly wage war on God.
I couldn't say that's impossible, John. How can you wage war on God, though? Do you know what I mean? They might think they can, but it wouldn't be possible. Like we're nothing in comparison to the creator. Like, it'd be like a video game waging war on its creator. Like it can't.
Well, it'd be like, right, yeah, it would be a hopeless war. There's no way we could win, but that's never stopped people from waging a war before.
Quick shout out to, is it Caprica Soul for joining as a member. Thank you very much. I'm going to label this show The Buzz. Oh, damn it. It's deleted too many. What's the show number? Is it 52? Yes, Nathan, 52 live.
I think it's 52, yeah.
I'm going to call this show
52.
Oh, it's
The Buzz Aldrin Problem. How'd you spell Aldrin?
ALDRIN.
The Buzz Aldrin Problem. So what about long term? If we assume that Buzz did actually do this, I know we've speculated short and medium term, and Brian said all terms. But long term, if he did, are we going with would there be a rebellion against God because Buzz Aldrin admitted to lying about going to the moon?
Or there would be a war waged on our society in which the scientific method would be thrown out, the baby with the bathwater, and it would plunge the world into another dark age, possibly.
I don't think it would go into a dark age. I think people are too used to having what they have in their lives at present. But I would say the opposite. I would say people would be looking for what actually is science, because people would be expecting that scientists lie to them when this is not a science issue. If you know what I mean. Some parts of it are, but on the whole, what the world is not a science issue.
That's the Jeranism reaction.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jeranism is a fair representation of how most people, I think, would react without the information that we have and the understanding that QE has helped us remember. We are all taught it, but without that weapon against it, it could easily turn into throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is Buzz becomes the archetype of science, and his denial of something he's lied about up until the point that he confesses represents science misleading people in the same way Jerem calls scientism. That's actually pseudoscience, if you correctly ascribe what he's critiquing. How pseudoscience has lied to them. But they would say science because they wouldn't understand that it's actually never been science. It was always also a lie. And even if they did, it would probably send them down the spiraling descent of the rabbit hole that would cause madness. Maybe. Anybody else got any speculations about the long-term consequences of someone like Buzz Aldrin confessing to lying about going to space, lying about going to the moon, maintaining that lie for years to come?
Well, I feel like the question is ultimately also like, do we equate the believers in the lie to the liars themselves? And the cascading effect of the believers in the lie, what will happen to them? But I feel like the metaphysical war that we are under, it's always going to be the opposing force of propaganda that's going to distort it. So in the long run, it's going to fade out like everything else. People are going to forget. Because hasn't he come out and he was talking to this 8-year-old girl and telling her they didn't go?
There's been several examples, but yes. But well, we didn't
Well,
go.
what he said. Well, he was kind of drunk when he said it, and he said, "Go back," and then he said, "We didn't go," and then he said, "We didn't go back." He confused. He was drunk enough that it wasn't a confession that you could really hold up rock solid and say, "Absolutely." He's telling everyone
Let's go
without
out the window
doubt.
if you don't come in.
You talking to us, Brian, or you've got a guest?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was off mute.
No worries. Yeah, John.
Yeah. What I'm saying though is it was ambiguous enough what he said that like we understood what he meant. But a believer, could easily write it off as Buzz is just drunk and he's trying to figure out why we didn't go back to the moon. Since,
it was enough fumbly-bumbly for it to be picked apart and put back together again in whatever order you like, is kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, it wasn't concise at all. He didn't look at that little girl and said, "We lied to everyone about going to the moon." No one's ever been there, to my knowledge.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. The ramifications of that exact statement coming out of Buzz's lips in front of a press conference or something.
So I can throw my speculation in here.
Definitely. Go ahead.
I think that the plan of the globe Earth was part of a big plan, because we've got a lot of deceptions going on with politics, economy, and this and agendas that are well underway, and a possibility that flat Earth was leaked to us. So I guess I didn't really speculate. I just kind of listed a couple of things to factor in. Sorry.
No, it's cool. Good. I mean, that's the ramifications for the world at large. Maybe if we focus it on what would be the consequences for Buzz personally, just in the few years he's got left.
Yeah, I would say that that flat Earth, if he were to leak that, it would be like everybody else. Some won't even hear it. Some will believe it. Some won't. Just like every whistleblower.
It'd
I
be
was
like
going to
that
say we have an
Russian.
example of that.
Oh, I had Righteous first. Go ahead, Righteous.
I said we have an example of what the Klein said. Neil deGrasse Tyson, how many times did he debunk the globe, and people still go on like it's a globe? So I don't know if it would make much difference.
Right.
Yeah, I think that media is pretty controlled. That kind of information would be scrubbed, so not everyone would see it anyways.
Okay, that's a different slant. So you're saying if Buzz did this, I would like that angle. So Buzz goes in front of a press conference and says, "Yeah, we all lied. We never went to the moon." Now, you're saying that the media machine would be so efficient as to lock that down and memory hole it before it even reached the public?
Yeah, and yeah, he would probably put his life in danger, and people also his family in danger. Because when you're held with a secret, like if you do some sort of oath of secrecy with, a secret organization, especially government affiliated, there are serious ramifications. So not only to the individual, but the individual's loved ones.
Well, I was thinking the anti-flat earthers may be the real threat because you know how betrayed. I mean, look how they react to us, and we're no one to them. Could you imagine if one of their heroes did that to them? They would hunt him down and kill him.
Yeah, when Neil
But, I
deGrasse
mean,
Tyson goes slightly off the beaten path, they will throw him under the bus immediately, won't they? And that's in some minor foible that doesn't quite comport with their anti-flat Earth rhetoric that they want to put forward. They'll throw him under the bus. So if it was a disclaimer or a confessional from Buzz, yeah, I think you're right. The people who would be at his door with pitchforks and torches would be the anti-flat Earthers. I think you're absolutely right.
I would say that what's likely to happen is he comes out and says, we didn't go to the moon, and the majority of the Western world go, because it's mostly the Western world that are at fault there, go, yeah, we know. Because it's been such a long time since it happened, and there's been so much stuff come out on the internet that disproves that most people wouldn't even believe in it.
Well,
I would say the amount of people that don't believe in it outweighs the amount of people that still do. But we know the way we're told, we think that 99% of the world thinks that 99% of the world believes in a globe, that kind of thing.
Well, that's interesting because it means you've got a prepackaged old rhetoric that's generationally disposable that you can package up to have people brace against, so that you're tacitly relinquishing space, but in a nice little neat package that's about the moon landing. Because if you give up the moon landing, although that's not true anymore because there's been several fake moon landings since, hasn't there? So how do you square that circle? Just we already know, and we know the ones that are current are fake also. We knew that too. Is that what you're saying the public would do?
Yeah. Sorry, Flatty.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. I was saying there's a failsafe on Buzz Aldrin coming out anyways because of the Russian United States race to space. So they'll just chalk it up to that. They've got a failsafe.
We've already had that. We've had that rhetoric come out once already. I've seen it. I couldn't tell you where without wrecking my brains, but I have heard that spiel in semi-mainstream rhetoric already.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. And most people that you talk to, like your everyday people, if you say something about it, they'll be like, yeah, I can see that because it was like a space race. Yeah, so people say it all the time. It's already been planted in them. It's a failsafe.
Yeah, so the public have been given a justification to relinquish that minor blip in rhetoric.
Who would be in trouble is Elon Musk? Sorry, John.
I was just saying, you're talking about the people that have looked at this subject would know about that failsafe. It would be hard for everyone to hear it at the same time. You wouldn't be able to pull out a failsafe because
no, it's already in place. People already say it. I hear people that aren't flat earthers say it all the time. Online.
I understand that, but what I'm saying though, they're in this subject matter. You're talking about introducing.
That. Are they in this subject matter? Or are you just talking general Joe normally at the supermarket?
Yeah, that's. I was being more. I'm thinking worldwide, just because that's my mindset lately. So I apologize.
It's not totally not untrue because you've got one person who happens to be in this realm or arena that thinks that way or has disclaimed it that way that might not necessarily even be a flat earther. But typically that's going to be representative of a whole bunch of people. Yeah? If you communicate an idea with someone, there's a good chance that there's a whole bunch of other people that have the same exact idea.
Yeah, and I've heard it. Also, whoever put it out there as some sort of probably legitimate conspiracy theory. Not really, but you know what I mean. That's been something that I've heard people say for quite a while, even before I was a flat earther.
What about the cryptic disclaimers of Neil Armstrong? Has anybody heard those?
I haven't, but I would have ignored them anyway because cryptic stuff means nothing. Because even when you come out, even when someone comes out and states, you know, let's just say MIT professor, you can't have gas pressure without a container. They don't even listen to that, most of these people we deal with. So even if someone came out with a straight out confession, the people we deal with and that type of person, they won't even listen to that. They'll somehow wrangle it around in their mind that it didn't happen, or he was joking, or he must be losing his mind. You know, anything but he was just telling the truth.
Well, no, I think that's your skew in regards to how our anti-flat Earth opponents behave. I don't necessarily believe that the great and washed behave that way. I really don't. I think people are a lot more apathetic than perhaps it seems, because we are surrounded by passion, aren't we?
Yeah, well, I'm referring to the type of people we deal with. They are not your everyday normal person. They like to make it out as if we're not the normal people, but we're far more normal than they are.
No, we're not.
The everyday person is more apathetic, yes.
Everyday person is, but we're not either. We're far from normal anymore. Let's be perfectly honest about that. We're all tainted.
We're more normal than our opposition.
I don't believe so. There we go. I think we're as messed up as our anti-flat Earth opponents in most instances. We'll be able to find an individual in that group to parallel with. Now, the fact that we're in the right and they're in the wrong doesn't change the arena, does it? And we're all in the same arena. Now, again, it doesn't matter if you say, well, they're much more successful, they're algorithmically favoured. Again, same arena, though. So I would say that there are far more parallels in this kooky little pond that we find ourselves in compared to the outside world, and there'd be a lot more similarities between us and our anti-flat Earth counterparts than there would be differences with the normie society, who are, I'd say, much more apathetic. And when it comes to subjects like this, the passion that you would like to potentially perceive in everyone is just not there. You know, the lackluster, well, I don't really care, is most people's attitude. So therefore, a lot of these, like heliocentrism, let's keep it focused, that's sort of perceived to be, oh, well, that's absolutely tantamount to everyone's existence. No, it isn't. Most people don't care. Oh, yeah, I know it's a ball. But if you told them it wasn't, they'd be like, oh, right, it isn't.
Not exactly, no. They don't care until you tell them that it is flat. Until you start telling them the Earth is a flat stationary plane, flat stationary enclosed, self-automated dynamic plane. If you know what I mean? If you tell them, once you tell them that, they do start caring. No matter who they are, they will start having some care. They don't care as long as nothing is definitive. See, they're apathetic as long as no side comes out as being the absolute truth. But if the absolute truth came out, which is that we're correct, because that is the absolute truth, then they would care.
Yeah, again,
it's easy not to care when it's all
that's a behaviour in our
ambiguous.
opponents, though. So our opponents do that. So when it gets to us definitively proving Earth's measured flat, they'll go, well, let's just take that example where it proves it's flat and must be flat, and put it into a false dichotomy where it could be flat or could be a globe, because then I'm happy to continue. In other words, they want to take a proof and turn it into a false dichotomy, or turn it into a, on balance, it could be either, or we haven't proven it either way. Someone said it literally a couple of days ago. I can't remember who it was. But they're like, well, if we take what you say, it's not proven either way then. I think it was the Foucault pendulum guy. When he's talking about the Foucault pendulum, and when it gets to the point where we definitively show that there aren't two reference frames, he's like, oh, right, it doesn't prove anything either way then, the Foucault pendulum. You're like, no. It's your positive claim that has failed. Not it doesn't prove anything either way. It doesn't prove you've got a spinning Earth. But that's what it's set up to do. But they want it to be, oh, well, if it's not actually showing that there's two reference frames, it's inconclusive. What? No, you've got an unsubstantiated claim that's still not proven. Not the result that was formerly proving my Earth spins is now inconclusive, but Earth could still be spinning. I don't know. You'd have the effects that that tool that you were using to claim it was spinning claims would be in effect, and we don't have them. Ergo, it is not spinning. But, oh, well, it could just be either way. It's inconclusive. That's the attitude they want to adopt, don't they, Brian?
Yeah, well, it's nice and ambiguous then. It's like the guy who came along and with his models and said it can actually be flat. You know what I mean? You can model the Earth in any way you like. But,
I'm glad you've agreed because I'm leading you somewhere. So therefore, if I was to draw a direct parallel with our very, very fondly welcomed audience who are bracing against the fact we measure Earth flat, would you not agree that there are certain parallels that are easy to draw, given that that is the current state of affairs? Brian?
Oh, you asked me that again, Nathan?
Given that there are plenty of people bracing against us currently, fighting their own cognition with regards to how the nature of our Earth represents itself to us and how it can be measured flat. We have people who are bracing against that and finding excuses for that. That would be to say, in parallel, keeping it in ambiguity. Would you not agree? Therefore, a perfect parallel.
Yeah. Yes, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I think that is down to that person's personal... I would say that person or that type of person represents a lot of people where they maybe would feel shame to claim themselves to be a flat earther or to publicly state that the Earth is flat or something like that. It's like it does keep it ambiguous. It's like we know it's not a globe. There's no doubt they are, but I don't want to make claims of what it must be, kind of thing. Overall, you know what I mean. So it does keep it ambiguous, and I think it's down to not wanting to personally address it, maybe, and also not wanting the public shame. I understand it.
Well,
there is a.
You say you understand it. I don't know that's the case, and I've speculated the same. So I was about to agree with you speculatively, which is to say, I've speculated that there's a. Specifically, I'm going to give an example. I hate to make him the example, but Bev. I've used him as an example to say these people would socially prefer that they didn't disclaim they're flat earthers. So being a not flat earther, as it's now been coined, is easier socially. Now, at the time I speculated that, I didn't necessarily get a great deal of agreement, but that was just my view on it. What could be the reason behind wanting to deny flat earth while simultaneously going to the process of showing all horizontals are parallel? Well, what use is that unless you're referencing an Earth that's flat, which we are, and that's how it's practically applied. But you literally say that and then declare very much as a strong point of contention that means it's not flat, because that's the position they take. So you go, well, what could be the justification for that? And the only thing I could come up with was it's easier socially to say, oh no, I'm not a flat earther. I share your ridicule, because that's easier socially. You're now agreeing with me. Prior to this, nobody backed me on that point, but there we go. Now you're suggesting that is the case, with a speculation of how Buzz might affect the world if he disclaimed his lies.
Well, let's just take the example of the surveyor. Just
let Brian finish, and then George. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I know George has something to say. Let's just take the example of the surveyor video from Bev. I personally, I don't know, I haven't talked to him about it, but I personally think, from what I could gather, is that he felt a bit ashamed that his video that was purely based off of whether horizontal was level, and instead of saying level when he said it's not curved, and instead of the surveyor saying it's horizontal, he said it's flat, right? Now, I think that he's pre-assuming that maybe that surveyor would not like the fact that Bev's video ended up becoming a video where a surveyor, this particular guy, said it's flat. But he doesn't know that if he asked the surveyor whether he thinks the Earth is flat, the surveyor might go, yeah, I'm a flat earther. He doesn't know whether he'd say that or not. He's pre-assuming, from what I could gather, that this surveyor is definitely not a flat earther and won't want anything to do with the subject and would not want to have any connection to the subject. And I think he feels like he would be responsible if the surveyor was connected to the subject, and he would feel a bit embarrassed because it was his video that connected him, even though he wasn't trying to connect him directly to the subject. That's my feeling on it. And that's why I think he prays so hard against it. He's pre-assuming the guy is not a flat earther, and he's pre-assuming that the guy would maybe get in trouble, and that maybe Bev would be responsible for that trouble. Whereas the guy might just totally go, yeah, I'm a flat earther. Absolutely. It's flat.
Sure, but the actual series
You know
of
what I mean?
events
You don't know that.
It's been republished by Michael Kahn, unedited, and then Bev has copyright striked him because he doesn't want it out there. And when, as I witnessed yesterday on Flatsoy's channel, shout out to you, Bev challenged Michael, who joined the show, to confront him over this copyright strike, which he is justified to do, I might add, Bev, that is. He confronted him on the basis that you're not doing this because you're worried about the 25 cents, you're doing it because you don't like what the guy said. Now, Bev's response was to say that Michael was misrepresenting what the surveyor said, but simultaneously claiming a righteous victory because of his justification in copyright striking Michael because it was unedited. So we've come to the fruition of that particular saga, which is to say that Bev's position is Michael misrepresented him. That's directly what he put to Michael. Now, misrepresenting him is what is Bev scribe. That's what he's told him. Well, what does actually get misrepresented? Well, the position that the surveyor took. It's a misrepresentation as far as Bev is concerned because it doesn't comport with his position of not flat when the guy explicitly states it's just flat. So it's a misrepresentation of Bev's whole ethos. But when it comes down to Bev having it republished by someone else, unedited, you can't challenge it based on its misrepresentation, other than its misrepresentation of Bev's ethos, which is what the surveyor's words did. But he tried to have his cake and eat it by saying, you misrepresented what the surveyor said when you published it unedited. So he can't have it both ways, and he's been caught out in that lie. And Flatsoy did a very good job of addressing that fact.
Yeah, I listened to that. I know George has something to say, but I listened to that last night as it was going on. But my point being is that I think Bev thinks to say that the earth is flat is a stupid thing to say. And I think he would think that the surveyor would back him on this, and that the surveyor could not be a flat earth. I would not identify it.
Would
just let me finish.
Just before you do finish, do you think Bev would agree with his enjoyment of roast beef? Are they both in alignment on that? Did Bev divine his motivation and thoughts about how much he enjoys roast beef? I wonder if we could ask Bev about how much he enjoys roast beef as well.
I reckon he's pre-assuming that the guy would have a problem with it, or that the guy is definitely not I think he's pre-assuming that guy wouldn't be a flat earther.
Would we pre-assume that he would hate horseradish? I mean, we would pre-assume that, wouldn't we, as we're divining the guy's thoughts, motivations, feelings, and concerns on a subject matter that he hasn't been asked about and has given a very much direct response that's quotable. We could spend a long time concerning ourselves, like Bev has done, about what his feelings and motivations were when he said the words that contradict his ethos. Because currently, according to Bev, the words he used are a misrepresentation. That's what Bev has put to Michael. Now, they're not. They're just his words.
Yeah, okay, but I understand that, and I see that point of view. I'm just saying that I think that he might be pre-assuming that guy would not just go, because the guy didn't say the earth is flat. He just said, yeah, level, yeah, it's flat, right? But he might be pre-assuming that guy is just not a flat earther also. Whereas that guy might just come out, yeah, it's flat.
I wouldn't care if he was a transgender, homosexual black woman in a belief that she's going on a rocket to Mars. The words that particular individual said would be all I was concerned with. What was said, verbatim.
But why does Bev go so hard against it? Because I think that he feels, well, he may have to clarify this, but I think he feels it's a stupid thing to say and an embarrassing thing to say that the earth is flat, or that he's a flat earther, or for anyone to say they're a flat earther. I think he sees it as an embarrassment. So that's why I think he goes against it so hard.
What goes against what the guy said? What the guy said to Bev isn't really of much concern in terms of Bev's concerns and feelings and thoughts and motivations about what was said to him. It was just what was said to him. There's no ambiguity here.
Yeah, let's talk about the words that was said. He said it's just flat.
Well, hold on. What I'm saying is it has to be a lie, because he gave a reason that Michael was misrepresenting. Michael published unedited the conversation that they had. Unedited. He didn't change anything, so he can't misrepresent it. So for Bev to say that is the reason he is upset is a lie.
Yes, exactly. Bev's a liar. I called that out in the comment section as it was occurring live, because he is. But that is his position, and I can understand his position because as far as he is concerned, what this surveyor said undermines everything Bev says. Not flat, explicitly, is Bev's position. What did the surveyor say? No, it's just flat, mate. That undermines everything Bev does, and it was really clear after he copyright strikes somebody for that particular clip, because his motivation was laid bare when he declared it. You have misrepresented what he was saying. What I was asking him is all Bev did. No, that's your motivation, Bev. What he said were just his words, and we're happy to take them at face value, and they contradict what you say. Not flat is Bev's position. Just flat is the surveyor's position. Can no one see the problem here for Bev? Isn't it glaringly obvious? He's not about 25 cents lost in revenue, which he's got justification to do, and I backed him the whole time in that regard. I mean, it's a bit extreme calling it theft, but nevertheless, Bev's in the right until he claims misrepresentation for an unedited video, the only reason he got away with copyright striking him. Yeah? Let's be clear about his motivation. Not flat is Bev's position. Flat is the surveyor's position. There's no ambiguity here about what the issue is. Let's be clear.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not saying.
I'm not here to.
I'm not saying.
I'll say, afternoon. I'm not here to talk about that or defend any of that. It's the ambiguity.
Absolutely, Edinburgh. It's the ambiguity of Bev's lies. Yeah. Very ambiguous when you're telling people that the reason you're moaning and copyright striking them is because of a misrepresentation, when in reality it's just an outright hatred of the contradiction of your overall stance and position that you put out to your members and presumably people who are giving you super chats and stuff. That kind of ambiguity is what people really despise when it's shown to be wrong by the very words of a surveyor. That kind of ambiguity really pisses people off, Edinburgh. Makes them want to unsubscribe, I'm sure you'll agree. You're not going to take part in this conversation, dick. You accuse me of being a bully and you're going to come back and feel that you're going to interject your 2 pennyworth into this discussion, do you? Mr. I'm going to white knight for Bev? No, the guy's a proven liar, Edinburgh. Proven. In front of absolutely everybody. Now, the last wave of people who realised Bev was stupid and a liar parroted his garbage about not being able to do anything with angles, with a bit of swearing in there because he's a common scumbag. But nevertheless, they parroted it and got humiliated. And now here we are again, with Bev telling people it's not flat and a surveyor saying it's just flat, mate. Yeah, that's basically really embarrassing for Bev. And no matter white knighting's going to get him out of it by Edinburgh, who apparently thinks I'm a bully but comes back repeatedly. What does that make him? Yeah? A masochist? Is that what he is? Thinks I'm a bully but keeps coming back? You're a masochist then. I'm not a bully. You're just here to poison the well for my audience by claiming I'm a bully to my audience, I might add, and then defending Bev for his lies. You need to step up quick sharp and defend Bev's lies. No, he's a proven liar. I'm sure he'll lose a lot of subscribers over that overt lie that he has told and then had to defend and been humiliated by flat-soyed over. Picked apart great length. Very embarrassing.
Let me say something. And don't waste your time sending me messages, because I don't get them. So you're wasting your time, Edinburgh.
I immediately removed Edinburgh from this discussion at the moment he opened his mouth. Don't get to come here, claim I'm a bully. It's like, oh, right, you think my harsh treatment of my guests is unreasonable. Nobody said you had to be here. But what, you still want to retain your position at the table to what, mock me and insult me further? Get lost. Absolutely no way, Elder Bear. Elderly Bear can get lost. He can go scratching back around Bev as he loses all his subscribers to the fact they realise he's a lying scumbag. That's what you can do.
Yeah, I think that might have been an attempt to throw himself in front of the train that's coming and deflect, attack him instead of keep pointing out what the lie is that Bev told on Flat Swords.
Yeah.
If I can say something, Nathan.
Yeah, feel free.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, not only the quote is you can do f all with an angle. Yeah, not only you can do something with an angle, you can find your latitude, but at the same time you are measuring, which is the word that they're having a problem with, measuring the Earth to be flat. Regardless which latitude you're on, it requires a flat baseline to the GP of Polaris in order to find your latitude line. So you're measuring the Earth to be flat. The other thing was mentioned here was the Foucault pendulum. Yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for that as well.
So you can save
my
yourself,
favorite Discord,
save
just so
lives
you
with circles too.
Yes, Bev.
You can do lots with these angles, can't you? Yeah, there's a light in the sky outside, right? You can measure an angle to it.
You don't appreciate how that's used in mapping.
No.
10th, do you want to call him out as a liar?
He did say to me, you know your latitude instantly with an angle to Polaris, that light in the sky. Have you said that to me?
So that's what it is. Your latitude is the angle to the light in the sky.
So the audience is clear. Bev's little soundbite position to undermine us a year and a half ago when we were expressing the virtues of taking flat Earth measurements to negotiate your position on the ground. Bev undermined that by saying you can do F all with an angle. That was Bev, after that attempt to undermine us with lies, stating quite clearly that your angle to Polaris gives you your latitude, just an angle. So you can do F all with an angle versus this is what you can do with just an angle, establish latitude, by Bev's own mouth. That was his last barrage of lies that cost him a whole ton of subscribers because they saw how stupid he was while we exposed his lies. Now Flatsword's doing it with lies about reasonings behind making copyright strikes for verbatim quotes that were unedited that undermine his position. He says not flat, Surveyor says flat. It is that simple, and he's had to lie through his back teeth. This is another example of Bev lying through his back. This is what he does. Should be obvious now. He's been doing it forever.
You can do call with an angle.
Sorry,
your latitude is the angle to the light in the sky. You can do fuck all with an angle.
Sorry.
Your latitude is the angle. Your latitude is the angle to fuck all with an angle.
Sorry.
Is the angle to the light in the sky.
So
That's it. You can do lots with these angles, can't you?
In terms of what you can do with an angle to the light in the sky, you can establish your latitude. So that's doing something with an angle then?
It's just measuring an angle to the light in the sky.
That light in the sky. Have you said that to me?
So that's what it is. Your latitude is the angle to the light in the sky.
So you can do plenty with an angle, can't you, Bev?
It's just measuring an angle to the light in the sky. So you can save yourself, save lives with circles. You can do lots with these angles, can't you?
Bit of a turnaround, isn't it? From you can do F4 with an angle to you can do lots with these angles, can't you? Yeah, that's the words of a lying shyster. I'm sure Flatsword will end up trimming out his new lies that he's had to tell about the unfortunate words that came out of a surveyor's mouth when Bev spoke to him specifically. Those unfortunate words that undermine his entire position. You know, obviously, we've misrepresented everything that the man said when it's been trimmed out and unedited and just said exactly as he said it. Very, very embarrassing for Bev, and now he's got to lie through his back teeth about that. There's always something. Anyway, enough about Bev. It's tedious.
Yeah, it was very precise, saying that level doesn't curve, is flat. He said it twice. Level is flat. So it was game over from that moment on.
Any other remarks in this regard? I don't want to just arbitrarily cut it off because I'm sick of it. This is the pushback that we expected, that Gandhi described. First they'll hate you. Any more for any more?
Can I tell you some? Can I tell you about today? I was in the working place, and somebody start talking and say, "Do you know that people believe that the Earth is flat?" And the other guy, the chef in the place, said, "Yeah." And there are people that believe that the Earth is a triangle. And then they start talking about it. And I was saying with myself, "Don't say anything about it." I'm the man in the room that know everything about this issue, but I really have to tell myself, no, it's not the right place or time to give anything or tell or try to talk about it. In that, it's very, very hard. So, I am ashamed to say I'm a flat earther then, or it's just a situation is impossible because it's about your work and so on and so on and so on.
No, I totally appreciate that. The time to discuss it is now, and the place is here. This is Flat Earth Debate. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ Pals for making today's pre and live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in Nathan Oakley 1980s live stream, or if you're watching this after the fact, for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!